Well, I think it's time for a coffee. The reason I've come to the River Thames is not just because it's wonderful and peaceful and the heart of England. I'm very nostalgic because I was a student in Oxford and then lived there for an awful long time. So I've got fond memories of the River Thames. But it's also going to give me a chance to show you how I now set up the boat. So as you can see, I've still got the same cover. It's getting on a bit now. It's canvas cover and I really like it in warm weather. But when it gets damp and cold in autumn, which is just beginning now, it never ever dries. That's the problem. You pack it away wet and you put it up again wet in the morning, and yeah, so I'm probably going to change it for a synthetic cover, and I'll let you know what I do when I get round to that. As you know, from my previous video, I used my waterproof bags that I have all my gear in also as buoyancy for the boat, or additional buoyancy for the boat, because the boat wouldn't sink even with no additional buoyancy at all. But it's good to, as I've added a lot more weight, it's good to actually have things tied down low that are lighter than water, that will help to keep her afloat if one capsizes or gets swamped, which has happened. So you can see underneath this side thwart my two waterproof bags. This one here, the black one, is what I now use to keep my bedding in. And as you can see, it's strapped down with a rope to keep it in place. And just take it out. There it is. This is a change from the previous bags I had. This is now an Lechlade roll top bag at one end. And in it first of all, I have my waterproofs, which are in their own waterproof bag to keep everything else dry if they're wet. And then there is a pillow. My mattress. My wash bag. My sleeping bag. Sleeping bag, just to make sure it stays dry, is in a second waterproof bag. This is because I had the year of the capsizes, and we learnt that roll top bags are not quite as waterproof as you might hope them to be. It's back under that. I tend to sit down inside the tent, right on the floor, which gives plenty of headroom. Obviously at the moment I've got one side open because it's such a lovely evening, but that doesn't necessarily happen. Now my sleeping bag, I've changed. I used to believe that you should have synthetic bags so that they didn't get damp with seawater and then never dry and just be rubbish. And obviously a synthetic bag you can wash. But I now actually have gone on to a down bag, because I found these down bags, which are a blacks bag. And what I really like about them is, as I shall show you, quite apart from the fact that being down they pack. This is a 3-season bag, and as you can see it packs very small. But the great thing about this is it has a nice big square foot. Look, it's not a mummy bag. It has all the mummy bag sort of stuff at the top. It's got a hood and it can all be pulled in tight around your head to keep you warm in the night. But it's much easier to get in and out of than a mummy bag. And I think, you know, this is the business really, is a bag like this for sailing, and I just try and keep it dry. There it is, blacks. I'm not certain these are still made, but I shall, it's called a Cosmos 500R. But I've got 2 of these and I use them all the time now. I find they're much nicer in warm weather as well as in cold weather. They seem to work on a wider temperature variation than synthetic bags do. So I put that down on top of the mattress. Pillows are really good. Very much recommend pillows. This is a Thermarest camping pillow. Watershed are an American company, and what it has is this seal all the way along the top, and there's a trick to opening it. And inside here I have all my clothes. These upgrades happened because in 2016 I had 2 capsizes which I made videos about, and after that all the equipment was rather tested to destruction, and some of it was found wanting, and it's really annoying when all your clothes get sodden and salty and you just can't be doing with it. These are expensive, but dinghy cruising is so cheap compared to yachting. If you've ever owned a yacht, you wouldn't begrudge buying a bag like this for your dinghy. I do recommend buying decent kit for a dinghy. Don't sort of treat a dinghy as something that has to have cheap and crummy kit. You can afford the decent stuff because you're not paying for moorings, and you've got the opportunity to come to somewhere like this. So people say, Roger, why don't you have a yacht? Wouldn't it be really nice to have a nice big yacht and a nice big cabin, and you could keep her in a marina somewhere, and you could have shore power, and you could go down and you could show her off to all your friends, and you could maybe have a barbecue on the pontoon, which is the sort of thing people do. But look, if I had a yacht, there is no way I could bring her here. This river is less than 2 hours drive from my home. It's about an hour and a half. It's probably one of the nearest places I can actually come to launch my boat, so it's surprising that I've actually never launched her here. But I do tend to sail in the sea. But look at it, this is just wonderful. I could come here in winter and put the boat in the water and have a little sail when it's far too wet and miserable to take the boat into the sea. And isn't this what it's all about? Just finding a quiet mooring and bedding down for the night. Isn't that what we want? I think the trouble is with yachts, people want something impressive. They mistake what sailing's all about. They think sailing's about a thing, about buying a yacht. And what you've got to do is to have this thing. And if you look at yachting magazines, they're almost always about the thing, about the yacht, about the equipment you can put on her. They're very rarely about what you actually do. They very rarely describe experiences. Because in the end, the truth is that most yachts spend virtually all their time tied up in marinas. They don't go anywhere. Because going anywhere is difficult and expensive and actually boring, because you just motor up and down the same bit of river before you get out to sea, and then you have a little bit of a sail, and then you come back and then you motor back up the river, and you have to lock back into the marina if she's a marina protected by a lock. And that's the problem. You've got something impressive, but you're not really using it. If you have a little dinghy like this, she's not very impressive. I think she's very beautiful. But you have experiences, and life is about experiences. It's not about having something that impresses other people. Trust me in this. This is the philosophical bit of this video. Make sure you have experiences. Have something simple that you can take places that are interesting, and don't worry about owning things that are impressive. Okay, so let's do some cooking. I'm just going to get things out of tins. I always keep a number of tins on the boat so that I can cook up a meal quickly if I need to. And tonight I need to because I've spent far too long filming things. You'll remember I have two boxes. The cuisine box and the cambouze. This is a French boat, so things are called French names. The cambouze is the store cupboard. So today it's going to be a curry and rice. So I'm just waiting for the rice to cook, and then I'll heat up the Marks and Spencer stew. But in the meantime, it's beer o'clock. It's nearly midnight. There are owls hooting in the fields around, and we're very near the head of navigation on the river. We're just by a little village called Kelmscott. And I came here because I've recently been sailing on the Marais Poitevin, just north of La Rochelle in France, and the idea was to cruise around and explore lots of the waterways there. But what actually happened was that because of very low water levels, it's been a really hot summer this year, 2018, particularly in central France. So many of the locks were closed and it was all very problematic. But we did manage to explore quite a lot, and it's a fascinating area. They call it the Venice Vert, the green Venice. Anyway, having found that one of the main locks was closed, we took a short cut up a small little, basically a drainage ditch between two fields for 1 kilometre in order to get onto another canal that was to the north of the main river. That was choked with weeds, so we had to bow-haul the boat, or my friend Mary bow-hauled the boat, most of the way to a little village called Marais, which is a lovely little place right in the centre of the Marais Poitevin. And that was about it. After that we relaunched into the sea and then had a holiday sailing all the sounds between the Ile de Ré and the Ile d'Oléron in that area of France, Charente Maritime. But this weekend I'm on the River Thames. A lovely morning. This is Kelmscott, the heart and centre of the arts and crafts movement, where William Morris and Rossetti bought this house, and there William and his wife Janie lived. Then she fell in love with Rossetti, and William Morris went off to Iceland and left them together in the house. And this is also the house where, in News from Nowhere, the people of the book arrive in this lovely anarchistic vision of the future. And this is the culmination of that book. It's still a very special place, Kelmscott. Very, very unspoilt.